of the Supreme Court considering the constitutionality of a Mississippi law that could completely undo Roe versus Wade as we know it. Out front now, Laurence Tribe, constitutional law professor at Harvard Law School. And Professor Tribe, I appreciate your time. So obviously this was a process ruling, right, as opposed to a ruling on the overall constitutionality of Roe versus Wade. But process matters, and abortion rights advocates are very clear that this is going to make it, they obviously can't reopen these clinics while this goes on and on and on in the courts. How consequential of a ruling is this?
Well, I think it's quite consequential in the sense that it's a disastrous loss for abortion rights and for the rule of law in America, and for honesty and candor. I mean, if you read the Supreme Court's opinion, it's carefully written by Justice Gorsuch to create a fig leaf of partial victory for abortion providers, because he goes out of his way to say that after all, when the case goes back to the district court in Texas, that court will be free to rule in favor of the abortion providers against those state officials who threaten to take their medical licenses away if they lose lawsuits to the bounty hunters. But it doesn't do any good to have a license to provide a procedure if you've had to shut your doors because you're threatened with crushing liability. It's really a phony move on the part of the Supreme Court, because it's not these licenses that matter. It's the ability to sustain liability that could run into the millions of dollars. And so the Supreme Court has basically said abortions can be shut down in the state of Texas while the court is considering just how thoroughly to gut Roe versus Wade. It's quite a shell game, and it's not one that puts the court in a very favorable light.
So you have a new op-ed, professor, in the Washington Post, and you make the case for expanding the number of justices on the Supreme Court. And it's important in light of what we saw today, because you argue that the rulings from the conservative majority on the court are destroying American democracy. So I want to ask you something about what we've seen these more conservative justices do over the past year, right? Former President Trump appointed two of them, Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. Over the past year, those two justices would not hear a challenge to Pennsylvania's 2020 presidential election. They shot down a Republican-led challenge to the Affordable Care Act. They have not lived up to Democrats' pessimistic expectations. But in that same time frame over the past year, dozens of cases decided. The Obama-appointed Justice Sonia Sotomayor rarely found a compromise with conservatives. What do you say to this, that they come in and they've actually not just towed the party line on conservatism?
I'm not suggesting that they always toe the party line. When you have a completely frivolous attack on the Affordable Care Act, I wouldn't expect any justice of any party who doesn't want to look like a clown to uphold that attack. What they are doing, however, is systematically dismantling the safeguards of democracy. Decisions that undo critical parts of the Voting Rights Act, decisions that refuse to get in the way of Republican gerrymandering, decisions that refuse to deal with dark money in politics. These are not just wrong decisions, they are decisions that put the court on a continuous path to undoing fundamental human rights and the fundamental presuppositions of a genuinely democratic society. And it's a one-way ratchet. In the past, there have been pendulum swings right and left on the court, but these decisions taken together, and now the impending decisions that will, for all practical purposes, take equal power away from women, power over their bodies. These decisions move in the direction of systematically dismantling the prerequisites of a free society, and we won't be able to turn back. The court has already been packed by justices that are moving in that direction. I believe it needs to be unpacked by the addition of several justices. That's the only clearly constitutional thing that can be done at this point to prevent what really looks like an irreversible disaster. It's not perfect, but I do not think that the majesty of the Supreme Court is a justification for letting things continue moving in this truly dangerous and anti-democratic direction.
Professor Tribe, thanks so much. I always appreciate your time.